Welcome back to Success and Strategy Real Talk with Heart Centered Entrepreneurs, where you will hear inspiring stories and insights from entrepreneurs who are leading their businesses with heart and strategy. I'm your host and strategic bookkeeper, Amanda Stickle, and today I am joined by Lauren. Lauren, do you want to share a little bit about yourself, your business, what you've got going on?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Lauren Lefkowitz. I'm an executive coach, and I believe that fine is a trap. And that became my tagline during a rant about how executives and leaders get to a point in their careers where they feel like they should be happy. They are getting the money, they have the team, they have the title, they're at the company, they got the job, and they're fine. And you ask them how they are and they're fine. And you ask them how everything's going, they're fine. And we all know that fine doesn't mean fine. Fine means terrible. But if I say terrible, I'm going to start crying. And if I start crying, I'll never stop. And so fine as a trap became my tagline because I think we all deserve better. And I myself lived in this fine trap for many years. I was a corporate executive working 80 plus hours a week. And that is no longer my life. It's not the life I want to lead. And now I help other people also lead the life that they actually want.
I love that. That is so true too, that fine is not always fine and because you don't want to say terrible because then you're going to start crying.
Right.
I love that's so true, and I think that's so relatable. So I like that that's your I mean, that's not your full tagline, but that what is it? Fine is not
Fine as a
not
trap.
fine as a trap. Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank
I
you.
was confused at first because I'm thinking fines. Like I'm just working with a tax client that came to me and he's got like fines accruing, and I'm like, fines. Yes, it is a trap.
Yes.
Um, so that's very interesting that you've come from the corporate leadership 80 plus hours, and now you said that's not really your what your goal is or your lifestyle. And I'm totally in alignment with that because I'm I very much like to work like 3 hours a day. So I
Mhm.
couldn't imagine having that full schedule now, like going back to like a 9 to 5 or a 12-hour a day work schedule. That wouldn't work for me. So is that kind of part of what success looks like to you, where you have that flexible schedule? Or like how do you define success in your business and in your life?
For me, success is joy. And if I'm finding joy, if I'm finding my version of balance and integration of work and life and all of the things that are required to be done around me, uh and I feel pretty good about it, that's success to me. I make good money. I want to make even better money. I have amazing clients. I want even more amazing clients. Like I am in a growth phase. I'm hoping to, continue to scale up. Uh but success to me is that I have a full, well-rounded life. It's not work and work and work and try to squeeze in a little bit of fun and or work and then sleep and then work some more. And working myself down from 80-hour weeks was a task, right? And it took some time before I even saw space in my life. And then I had to work through like, well, what do I do with this space in my life? And so now that I'm sort of in the thick of it, I've been in my business full time for 3 years. I really feel like I'm starting to get to the point where I'm gaining an understanding of what fun is for me and what joy is for me, and not filling my time with work because there's so much other stuff to do and be involved in.
Yeah. I again completely agree with you. Joy is actually my word of the year. I don't know if you do that
Oh no,
ever.
I love that. Yeah,
This was
that's
the
great.
first year that I really committed to having a word of the year. Um, and not just to have a word, like to really like constantly remind myself joy, like finding the joy in the things that I'm doing, and then also like determining what joy looks like for me. I'm definitely one of those weirdos who like my one of my interest areas is business, so it's sometimes hard for me to like draw that line in the sand of like, okay, am I just stuck in like a like a routine, or am I actually interested in having joy doing this? It's like it's weird. I'm sure you've probably experienced that slightly. We're coming down from that 80-hour a week
Yeah.
work schedule where you're like, but I need to be doing this. But no, you don't need to be doing that. And like finding what you want, like you said, finding what you want to fill those gaps that actually
Yeah.
brings joy. So I think that's great. Joy is definitely a good theme to have for success. And because if you're not feeling the feelings and you're feeling the negative things, then that's not where anybody wants to be. So
Right.
that
And I think that joy comes from choice. So if you're choosing your business for more hours than the next person is choosing their business because you get joy from that, then you've made the choice and you're this willing participant. If you feel like you're being pushed into working more hours or you're pushing yourself because you think you should, I don't like
should.
the case of the shoulds.
Yeah.
But if you think you should, then it's not really choosing, it's like feeling compelled to. And so my view is that choice leads to joy.
That is that's good. That's a good thing to remember. I love that. Um, so maybe this answers the question already. What do you feel has made the most significant impact in getting your business to where it is today?
Neither of those actually.
Okay.
So we did not pre-answer the question. Support.
Yes.
So I was always a person who did everything by myself. When I worked these 80-hour weeks, in part, it was because I was the interim whatever. I joked that I was the vice president of whatever you need. And so I would step in when there was a hole somewhere in the business. And I thought that because I was good at a lot of things, that it was my job to be good at me. And nobody could be as clever about me as me. That was sort of my worldview. When I realized that I could accept support, not only that I could accept it, but that I could like seek out a specific kind of support. I got myself a business coach. Before that, I worked with an executive coach to help me with boundaries and getting down from that 80-hour work week. But when I decided to start my business, I hired a business coach because I didn't know how to start a business. I knew how to run the inside of a business because I'd done every VP position that there was at one point or another. But I didn't know how to start a business from scratch. And recognizing that I was allowed to have support, that it was available to me, and that it could elevate me and like be with me was so powerful. It was hard. It was hard to accept that and to realize that how much strength there is in accepting support. But I would not be where I am today, and I wouldn't be feeling like I have all of these choices and feeling joy and running a successful business if I had not relied on not only my coaches, but my therapist, my friends, making friends who were entrepreneurs. Like I have this circle of support now that I never imagined existed. And I could not be where I am today without it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Support is such a key aspect of owning a business and being successful. Um, I I ran my business for about 5 or 6 years, trying to do everything on my own because I was in that same mindset of like it's my world. Like I am the only one that can do things my way. But my way is not always the best way or the most efficient or reliable way. Especially when it's things that aren't like our main offer. So like the back end stuff.
Yeah.
And then I invested into a coach, and then that really took my business a whole nother direction and really started that growth process for myself as well. And then that led me on my journey of finding other coaches that were really in alignment with me. And it's kind of like they provide inspiration on top of like accountability and just in general support. Um, because we can be in our heads so much and it can really weigh us down. And once we actually start verbalizing that to somebody, and at the start, because I kind of like to feel people out and like process them. So usually it's just them starting to talk and like hearing their stories. And that's kind of why I started this as well, because if other people are out there like me, where you kind of want to absorb the information before you participate.
Yeah.
I think that's so helpful. You're like, oh yeah, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. These people are feeling and thinking the same things as me. And then it leads you on a journey of creating that community and finding people that you can vent to and eventually hire for other additional support. Like I hired a VA 3 years ago, and I've been working with her for 3 years and training her now to be like my bookkeeper assistant. So it
Right.
gives me more capacity to help more people. And it's like, why didn't I do this sooner? But I wasn't ready to. It's a
Right.
full process.
Yeah. Yeah. I hired a creative operations person last year. We've been working together just over a year, and she's amazing. And she just like keeps all my stuff together and reminds
Yeah.
me when I have deadlines for videos or writing something or whatever it is. And because of her, I have a consistent newsletter. I have a consistent Sunday email to all of my subscribers. I am on Instagram and TikTok, which I wasn't before. And I kept saying, like, I will someday, sometime. And because I have her keeping me aligned with my own mission, I'm able to get things done that I know that I would just procrastinate on my own.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a hard thing, especially um I don't I don't know about you, but if you're neurodivergent, like having that support and alignment can be so helpful and keeping
totally.
you on track and like being like, "Hey, you've got this going on," or "This is what you said you wanted to do. Why are you doing this?"
Right.
Like, "Oh, okay. You're
Yeah.
right." Um, so yeah, it can be really helpful. Even, I mean, just in general, just having that support and people that can relate to you.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, so kind of switching gears slightly because I offer financial support, and that's been the one thing that people I see most often is people are scared to look at their numbers in their business and they don't want to sit with it or deal with it or acknowledge it. Um, and that's also a support area that people do eventually hire for, but I want to make it clear about why it's important to look at your numbers. So, how impactful has it been for you to understand your finances in your business growth?
When I decided I was going to start my business, I made having an accountant and bookkeeper part of my budget because while I can run finance and I have as an interim role, it is my least favorite. I'm sorry to say. But it's also the thing I worry about most. I think, like, I'm a Gen Xer. I think a lot of Gen Xers grew up with boomer parents who grew up with scarcity mindsets. And so I'm always afraid of running out of money. I've never been in danger of it, but I'm always afraid of it. And so for me, it was so important to have my numbers in order and handled by somebody who wasn't me, because I would spend too much time on it and still not really understand all of it. And so I hired an accountant and bookkeeper right away. And for me, being able to talk to her when I have a question about something, being able to see monthly reports from her, being able to understand how to pay my taxes, how to think about what money needs to be set aside for taxes, because when you're a W-2 employee, that just sort of happens. And at the end of the year, you pray for a refund. And that's not how it works when you own your own business. So I think it's so important. For me, it's really the safety of knowing where my numbers are, how they stand at all times, where an expense might go, what to do if I have like an amazing month or a terrible month, and whether to invest in my business and when. There's so much that goes into that I don't want to think about. That, like, I just want to talk to my person, and she can tell me how that all goes and be the expert for me.
Exactly. Yeah, it's basically like taking having somebody like a non-biased opinion, just giving you straight facts about your numbers and not having the
Yes.
feelings behind it, can be really helpful. And like you said, you can do it, but it's not something you enjoy doing. And then plus you worry about it. So then being the person handling it directly and worrying about it, you have extreme emotions behind it, which can kind of it can hold you back depending on what those mindset things are going through your head or the feelings that you're feeling. Um, but when you have that trusted expert by your side and they're able to tell you like, yes, you can invest in a creative director to help you with this process because you're going to see the return on investment. You're going to free up your time. You're going to have this laid out. And it takes that emotional part out of it and just gives you facts. I'm sure there is emotion behind it as far as like you have a relationship with her because you trust her and you know that you can go to her with your questions, but it takes that fear emotion out of it, I guess, and the
Yeah.
worrisome and yeah.
Yeah. There is so much emotion behind money.
Yeah.
And we think like, oh, it's just numbers, but everybody has grown up with
Mhm.
a money mindset and then experience their own stuff as an adult, whether it was an inflow of money that they went through too fast, whether it was a layoff, a job elimination that they, then didn't know how they were going to bring money in. We all have had experiences with money that have warmed our hearts and also made us like clench dollar bills with our hands as tight as we can because of the unknown. And some people say money is just, it's just numbers. It's not that important. It's, just make sure you have enough in your checking account so that you can pay your bills. And it is so much deeper than that. So yeah, I appreciate that you recognize that there's emotion
Oh
behind
yeah.
money.
Even though this is my area of expertise, like it's completely the mindset part of it's completely different. And I myself take I work with a coach and she has a mindset program and I do that every single year. It's the same program, but every time I take it or do it and work on it, I'm a completely different person. I have different perspectives and I learn something new. And it's just so interesting and it's like building layers upon layers about your mindset and it's like working out
Yeah.
basically. Like you have to
Hmm.
continue to work out to keep your muscles or keep healthy. The same as with your mind. No matter what you're working on in your mind, if you just do it once and then never look at it again, you're not going to retain it. So yeah, I think it's important to add that into your finance, your business world and your finance, is the money mindset part. Whether you whatever you believe, I think it's still important. You can find a coach or program that's in alignment with how you work and what you believe. But I think it's important in everybody's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of closing up now, if you could give one piece of advice, whether it's finance or um, just business strategy in general, what piece of advice would you give to other entrepreneurs looking to grow their business?
I think there are two pieces of advice that go together. One is get support, and two is believe in yourself. And believe in yourself is like, the cat hanging in the tree saying, hang in there poster from our childhoods, because it sounds like so simple and dumb, like, oh, believe in yourself. But you, at your core, you're allowed to have self-doubt. I have self-doubt all the time. I live the imposter syndrome life. Um, and so you don't always have to be confident, but you have to, like, at your core, believe that you are an expert at something and build a case for it, right? Like build some evidence, write down some things that you've done that nobody else did, or that you did better than the that you have worked with. And so believe in yourself and then ask for support, engage with support, because you shouldn't do everything alone. You can't do everything alone. For a little while, you can be scrappy and scramble and get by, but at some point, you're going to be lonely. Even if you don't get a coach, which I highly recommend. I think coaching is just absolutely fantastic. And there are so many different kinds of coaching to serve all kinds of people. Support can look like positive friends, constructive friends, not the friends who are like, yeah, it is hard and I hate it and I don't want to do it either and I'm not going to succeed either, right? That's not the friend. The friend is of course you can do this. Go ahead and have a bad day. Let's talk tomorrow and see how things can get better. But it can be friends. It can be other people who do similar things to what you do. It can be networking groups. There is support in so many different forms. So believe in yourself and don't get lonely. Those are really the two pieces of advice I would tie together.
Yes, I second those. And I think, like you're saying, even support could be something simple, like doing Instacart instead of going to the grocery store. Like that's giving
Yes.
you time to relax and you don't have to go and be out and thinking about all that thing. You can just you can do it online and then have it delivered, and that's support.
Yes,
Whatever that looks
exactly.
like to you. Yeah, I think that's great. And I think, yeah, believing in yourself, I think that's important. And I think they totally do tie into each other, because when you are feeling like you don't believe in yourself, but you have support, they can encourage you to believe in yourself. It's like a cycle, a circle. So,
Yeah.
yes, great, great advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks.
So now where can people go to follow you, connect with you, book a call with you? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I have a link tree, which is Lauren Lefkowitz, which is sometimes hard to spell. So I also have a free tool for people to use to help figure out how fine they are. And that's at fineasatrap.com, which surprisingly was not a domain that was taken before I came up with Fine as a
That's
Trap.
amazing.
Yeah. And then I also have a podcast with a partner. It's called I Could Talk to You All Day. We're on all the podcast platforms. We're both executive coaches and we talk about being a leader and also being a human at the same time.
I love that. I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I'll post the links in the description so that way it's easy to find and you just click. There you go, support, right? It's just there for
Yes,
you.
exactly.
So anything else you'd like to add before we jump off?
Um, just I think, when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, and this was true for me, it was true for a lot of the people that I knew, we do a lot of looking for the answers. I attended like every webinar, I listened to all the podcasts, I went to the discussion groups, I went to the LinkedIn lives, and I still do a lot of those because I always want to learn and grow. But I think if you're becoming an entrepreneur, it's because you have a thing that you know how to do that you can serve some portion of the world with. And so, like, go and do it. The answers are in you. They're not in all of the webinars and lives, and you'll get tangential kind of support from those. But believe in you is the bottom line, because you have something special. Entrepreneurship is not easy. It's not a default choice because you aren't finding a job. It is hard and fun and exciting and terrifying and super rewarding.
All the things. But yes,
Yes.
just if you have something in your head, I say go for it. Um, and it's okay if it doesn't look like what other people are doing. I think
Yes.
I definitely got caught up in that when I was starting out. I was like, oh, well, people are doing this, but it didn't feel right to me. So you have the answers for yourself, and it's not always going to look the same for everybody else. So I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that last tidbit. That was important to say. So just
Thanks.
believe in yourself and do it. You've got this.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining. This has been Success and Strategy, Real Talk with Heart-Centered Entrepreneurs, and we'll see you next time.